So the 2019 NFL Draft has come and passed, and while I'm a little bit sad it is over just because the NFL Draft is one of my favorite weekends of the year, I'm also a little bit relieved because the pre-draft anticipation can become very, very tiresome, and now we know exactly who we got, and we know exactly who we're going to be having moving forward and who the new building blocks on the team are. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and get into every single draft pick and assign every draft pick a grade and give an overall grade for the draft class. And one thing I do want to say is that this is a really dumb exercise giving draft grades to these prospects just because they always turn out to be way different in years in the future. You know, a C grade could become an A grade could become a D grade. You never know. But this video, we're just going to do it because it gets clicks, it's fun, and it'll be it's a good exercise to do sometimes, you know. We as fans, that's what we like to do. And before I get into it, I do want to apologize kind of for the quality of this video. I really did want to make this video and throw in pictures and video clips and whatnot and make this just a really good video. But my laptop is just bugging out on me. I don't know why. I had to diagnose the error. I just bought this computer about 3 years ago, so I got to figure it out. Hopefully it's not crashing on me. But anywho, enough about my personal life. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the very first pick at number 7 for the Jaguars went value and drafted defensive end / linebacker Josh Allen. And this was a big time value pick. Now, one thing that a lot of people are saying is that, oh, the Jaguars never expected him to be there. It's kind of false because Dave Caldwell did hint at the fact that they thought there was a good chance that one of these defensive ends might fall, especially given that a couple of teams might have been out there taking quarterbacks, which they did. The Cardinals drafted Kyler Murray, and the Giants drafted Daniel Jones at number 6. And then, you know, there's really the big 3 defensive linemen in my eyes. I mean, my favorite 3 guys, and that were Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, and Josh Allen. And you had a good feeling that Nick Bosa was going to go number 2, and then, you know, Quinnen Williams went number 3. The big wild card in this was the fact that the Raiders went Clinton Farrell with the number 4 overall pick. That was pretty shocking. And then the Bucs went Devin White, linebacker. So it led Josh Allen to be right there for us. And the Jaguars, you know, when you looked at what they were going to potentially do, they said that if they were going to go defense, they were going to go defensive end. Now, I will say that if Quinnen Williams was somehow there, I think that the Jaguars probably would have taken him. I mean, they said that Josh Allen was the number 3 player on their board. So, you know, I bet Nick Bosa was either 1 or 2, and I doubt Clinton Farrell was number 1 or 2. So I bet that was Quinnen Williams. And I bet they would have done that. But at the end of the day, man, they grabbed Josh Allen out of Kentucky. And this guy is an outstanding prospect. You know, I didn't really mention this guy much at all in my pre-draft videos just because I never thought that he would fall right here. You know, I really thought that the Jets, being that they missed out on Anthony Barr, they were going to be kind of pigeonholed into drafting this guy at number 3 and really filling a big-time hole. And I just didn't think that he'd plummet past the Raiders, you know, past the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles' 3-4 defense. But he did, and the Jaguars really reaped the benefits of this. If Josh Allen was gone, I feel like they were going to draft T.J. Hawkinson or right tackle Jonah Williams, but that didn't happen, and the Jaguars get a really good pick. And Josh Allen, man, he had led the college football last year with 17 sacks, and you also got to factor in that he was in the SEC. He was really the only great defensive lineman on his team, so he was constantly being double-teamed by offensive linemen or being picked up in pass blocking situations against the, you know, running back stepping up and chipping him. He would, you know, like he was constantly being double-teamed, and he was also dropping back in coverage a lot. So, you know, being able to get 17 sacks is extremely, extremely good stuff. And, you know, I went back and watched a good amount of his film before getting drafted. And one thing I see out of this guy is that he is very, very raw. He's very raw. He's going to have to get some coaching. Right now, he has a very good, he's very good at rushing and bending the edge and, you know, ripping the hands and getting at the quarterback. Just very good around the edge and getting some bend. He's also good at bull rushing, but he doesn't really have much of an inside move just yet. He doesn't have a spin move. He doesn't really have a counter move. That's something he's got to develop, man. And I think he's under a really good situation right now with the Jaguars, just because, we have Todd Wash, who's been a pretty good defense coordinator, former defensive line coach. He's already walking into a better situation than Dante Fowler. When Dante Fowler Jr. was drafted to the team, our starting defensive ends were Chris Clemens and Jared Odrick. Now, Josh Allen gets to walk into a defensive end group with Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue, so all of that is really good. And, when you say that he's very raw, you can't teach some of the stuff that he does. You can't teach his burst off of the line of scrimmage. You can't beat his quickness off the line of scrimmage. You can't beat just how quick he is, just how good he is when it comes to bending around the edge. You can't teach that kind of stuff. And he needs great coaching. He needs great coaching to be able to succeed. However, you can teach that. You know what I'm saying? You can coach different things. And I think he's a very, very coachable product. And it was a guy who was once a 2-star prospect, and now he's obviously was a number 7 overall draft pick, leading the SEC in sacks. When I watched him on film, I looked at him, I was like, man, this guy is kind of light. But really, man, he's 6'5", 260 pounds. That's like 15 pounds heavier than Yannick Ngakoue. He plays like he's a lot lighter just with how quick he is, and I was really surprised by that. But, I can't wait to do a film breakdown on this guy going forward. And I'm going to give this grade an A+, this pick an A+, just because this was the best pick to do. I mean, there's really no other options. You could have gone with a TJ Hawkinson, Jonah Williams, but those guys, the value there was not as good as Josh Allen at this spot. So that's an A+ pick. Now next, we had JaJuan Taylor, right tackle out of the University of Florida. And Jaguar fans are very familiar with this guy, mainly because he was being mocked to the Jaguars at number 7 a lot. But he apparently fell due to what Tom McShay called mental aptitude was one of the reasons, which is shocking to me because on film he actually seems like a very, very smart guy. He's very instinctive. He always knows exactly where to block when it comes to combo blocks or picking up different blitzers. He's always been good at that. So I feel like his football IQ is pretty good. And also an apparent knee injury, which is the same reason why I don't know if I believe the meniscus thing at all, just because they said there's a knee injury. When JaJuan Taylor was asked about it, he said that, in 2017 in the middle of the year, he tore his meniscus. He actually played through it, got surgery in the off season, and then he played in the entire 2018 season. He's never missed a snap due to injury. In years past, we saw Derwin James drop because of an apparent, I think it was like a back injury. Obviously, Myles Jack in 2016 dropped to the Jaguars in the 2nd round because of an apparent knee injury. And then all those guys have been extremely healthy. So I think it was just a case that maybe the draft, the NFL draft analysts and stuff like that were just overrating his ability. I don't know if that was it. I'm not too sure, but he wound up being the 5th tackle taken. I mean, absolute steal. Really, I mean, they moved from 38 to 35 to take this guy, which the Jaguars aren't shy to do that in the 2nd round. We moved up to draft guys like Al Robinson, Cam Robinson, Myles Jack, and all those guys have worked out pretty good. I love this pick because we get a plug-and-play guy at right tackle. I mean, he's going to be competing with Will Richardson, the 4th round pick in the 2018 draft to start, even Cedric Ogbuehi. But I think at the end of the day, at some point this year, he will start. So it's a really good pick. I really like this guy. I didn't really like the value at number 7 overall, but I do like the value at in the 2nd round. Yeah, I definitely think he's a top 20 pick. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an A. You know what I mean? These first 2 picks were outstanding. It's being very, very highly rated. He's a mauler in the run game. That's really a specialty, man. He's a powerful guy. But he's also pretty good in pass protection when it comes to being able to, get on an island, battle against these edge rushers. He did pretty well against Josh Allen this year. He's got to work on maybe bending his knees a little bit more. Because a lot of times he plays with a high pad level, and you're not going to be able to get away with that in the NFL. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one an A. So next up, we have tight end Josh Oliver out of San Jose State. He was the 69th overall pick in the draft. He was the 5th tight end taken. He's a guy that's 6'5", 250 pounds. I didn't really know much about him. Actually, I didn't know anything about him before the draft. And, I did a little bit of research on him. In his 4 years, he was a former defensive end, but he wound up switching to defensive end he wound up switching to tight end due to some injuries at the position. So really his first 2 years, he only accumulated like 20 to 30 yards. His last 2 years, his junior and senior year, he wound up, getting a bunch more yards. And overall, his total receiving yards in college was 1,067 yards with 7 touchdowns. So really not all that much production. He's definitely more of a receiving threat, like as opposed to really a run blocker. And, really if you're going to go outside the first 2 rounds and get a guy, he's either going to be good at run blocking or pass blocking. It's so rare to find a guy that's good at both. That's one reason why I was really lobbying for maybe getting a TJ Hawkinson before we had a guy like Josh Allen fall. But I'm going to go ahead and give this one a C. I give it a C because I do think that we drafted him due to need as opposed to really value. I would have gone with more of a Jay Sternberger out of Texas A&M. Now, when Dave Caldwell in his press conference said that they wanted to come out of the first 3 rounds, the first 3 picks, with offensive tackle, pass rusher, and tight end. Obviously, they got really good value out of the pass rusher. They got really good value out of the offensive tackle. And, they went to tight end with the 3rd pick. I watched him on film. He's got a pretty good range. He's got a pretty good route tree. He's got a pretty good catch radius, but I wasn't super impressed with him, but I do think he has a good upside. He's apparently a very, very hard worker. So I'm going to give this a C for now, and hopefully he can bust this grade. So, that's Josh Oliver, the tight end out of San Jose State. Now, the next pick, the number 98th overall pick, which we acquired due to the Dante Fowler Jr. trade with the Rams, we drafted Quincy Williams, a linebacker out of Murray State. And this one had all the couch GMs wondering, who the heck is this guy? Jaguar fans did not like this pick because, mainly because really he was off the radar of the draft experts. He was completely off the radar. However, and when it comes to NFL scouts and NFL GMs and stuff like that, they have a lot more resources than the NFL does. And like Daniel Jeremiah, I remember he said that he graded like 200 or 300 total players, and this guy was not a guy that he looked at. And really, he was kind of a hidden gem in here. He's actually Quinnen Williams' older brother, who was obviously the 3rd overall pick to the New York Jets. He ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. I watched his highlight film on YouTube, which is actually uploaded by Quincy Williams. The dude's a beast, man. He's got explosive speed. He just strikes people in the hole. He finds somebody and strikes. And really, the Dave Caldwell said that when they drafted him, he was really the last linebacker left that he felt that actually had starting traits. And this might have been a trend in the NFL draft just because the next linebacker didn't get picked till 17 picks after him. The next linebacker after that guy got picked the whole 15 picks after him. He was a guy who was looked at by the Seahawks. The Falcons were thinking about moving up for him. The 49ers, like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, noted that, that was a guy that a lot of guys didn't know about, but he was very, very good. And, he had 111 tackles in 2018. Dave Caldwell wanted to find an outside linebacker who could start, which is very curious just because of the whole Telvin Smith thing. And, is he going to try to start a weak side linebacker, or is he going to be more of a Sam linebacker at the strong side? We don't know, and we won't know until really the preseason and stuff like that starts. But, I would think he starts at the strong side linebacker spot. We had Leon Jacobs at that spot last year. And then Quincy Williams, he's an interesting guy to me. If you haven't watched his highlight film, watch it. It's pretty he's a freaky athletic guy, and I'm pretty excited about him. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a B. And I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, we should have got this guy. We should have got that guy." I'm gonna trust the front office and a lot of the NFL guys out there, and the front offices that get paid millions of dollars to scout these guys. And I'm gonna give this one a solid B, and I'm excited to see what he has in him. Now, we didn't have a pick in the 4th round due to the move up when we drafted JaJuan Taylor, so we're gonna move on to the 5th round, where we drafted Ryquell Armstrong, otherwise known as Ryquell Armstead, otherwise known as Rock Armstead, and he's a running back out of Temple. Now, he was pick number 140 in the draft, and man, with this one, I actually knew about this dude before being drafted. I know a lot of people didn't, but I watch a lot of AAC football because of UCF. UCF is actually in the same side of the division as Temple, and I saw this dude run for 142 yards on UCF before getting injured and leaving the game. So, I remember I was a little bit happy. I'm not going to wish injury on anybody, but I was a little bit happy when he, kind of limped out the field a little bit. I was like, you know what? He'll be better next week. Go ahead and walk off this one because you're killing us. But, he's a very similar type of player to Leonard Fournette. And this way, he's a very, very powerful runner and has very good speed as well. And when you look at him on film, he does a lot of runs out of the RPO system, which is something that Nick Foles does pretty well, is the RPO. So, it's something that Leonard Fournette still needs to work on, is the whole RPO thing. But, he's a very, very exciting player. I was very happy with this pick, to say the least. I mean, I remember it seemed like the consistent number 1 running back in this NFL draft was Josh Jacobs, the guy who got drafted to the Raiders in the 1st round out of Alabama. But really, the number 2 was a big toss-up. Some people even had him at number 2, like Chris Sims did. I was interested maybe in this draft to maybe get a guy like a David Montgomery or Devin Singletary, a guy with a little bit different of a skill set than Rock Armstead. But at the same time, I understand the pick just because if Fournette does get injured, which we know from years past, man, he's a guy that's very injury prone. We've never really had a guy with a similar skill set to come in and really be the guy that picks up where Leonard Fournette left off. And now we have that guy. Running backs tend to make really good impact right away just because it's more instinctive. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited about that. We got a downhill runner, needs to work on his vision a little bit. And also he hasn't really had many receptions out of college, but much like Fournette, they just didn't throw the ball too much. So this could be something that he's good at. He's also pretty good at, protecting the quarterback in pass coverage. So I'm going to give this grade a B+ for being able to pull this guy in the 6th round or in the 5th round. Now we go ahead and move on to the 6th round pick in the draft, and that is quarterback Gardner Minshew out of Washington State University. And this guy has a lot of Jaguar fans excited just because he's for several reasons. I'll give you the reasons. First of all, his name is not Tanner Lee, who was the 6th round pick in the 2018 draft out of Nebraska, who didn't really do much in college. He came to the to the Jaguars and had not really the best preseason, and he just wasn't very much of a fan favorite. Another reason is because he was very, very successful in college. He kind of bounced around a little bit. He started off at Northwest Mississippi Community College before transferring over to ECU, and then before going over to Washington State as a grad transfer. And, he went over there after the suicide of Tyler Helinski and after Luke Falk left the school. And he led Washington State to their best record ever of 11-2. He was the Pac-12 Player of the Year. He finished 5th in Heisman voting. He threw 38 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions with a 70% completion percentage. So, the second reason, he's obviously very successful in college. And the third reason why Jaguar fans like him is because he has a hilarious personality. You see him rocking all kinds of different facial hair looks. He's got the jorts on. He's got the funny, get up. He put the mustache on Mike Leach. He's a funny dude, and I think the Jaguar fans are going to like this guy, especially with his personality. But, you know, when it comes to his fit on the Jaguars, you know, he's not the biggest dude, 6'1", 225, but I think he's going to be able to probably make the roster. You know, the Jaguars, if he makes the roster, the Jaguars will most likely keep 3 quarterbacks and let Cody Kessler hang around. It's going to be a really exciting preseason, really, for the Jaguars, because we get to watch our new toy play and Nick Foles. We get to watch him take some starting snaps. Then we get to see Gardner Minshew get some play. You know, he's a much better pick than Tanner Lee. Very, very successful in college. You know, I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL. I know a lot of people are going to rip me for that, but I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL, just because, you know, he's got average arm strength, and usually quarterbacks in the NFL need good arm strength. He's a little bit undersized, but, you know, he's a guy that's very elusive. You know, he's probably second best, you know, amongst a bunch of the quarterbacks in this NFL draft, you know, behind Kyler Murray, when it comes to really just being able to have escapability and running around the pocket and stuff like that, and, you know, buying time to make some throws. And yeah, I mean, he's got all that good. I remember I made my initial video on him, and I just kind of saw the pick, went outside and talked about it. I remember my last impression, and because I watched the Senior Bowl, and I really watched every quarterback extremely, extremely closely. And, you know, my most recent impression of Gardner Minshew was going 1 for 8 in the Senior Bowl with only 6 passing yards. So that left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. But Gardner Minshew, for the 6th round pick, man, 178th overall, I'm going to give this pick an A-. So next up, we have in the 7th round, number 235 overall, we have nose tackle Dontavius Russell out of Auburn. You know, he's 6'3", 319 pounds. He was a 4-year starter at Auburn. And really, with this pick, you know, these 7th round picks, really, it's just as much of an undrafted free agency to me. So, you know, we'll see if this guy can make the roster. You know, he's got a shot, you know, to back up Marcel Darius and, of course, Marcel Darius and Avery Jones at a nose tackle spot. But, you know, we'll see if he can make the team. So, you know, if I had to grade this guy, let's just give it like a solid B. I don't know. But overall, man, the 2019 draft class, I thought it was very, very good. We got just a premium edge rusher in Josh Allen, and a lot of people say this wasn't a need. It was definitely a need, because, you know, you look, and backing up Yannick Ngakoue, you have, I believe it would be Laurenti McCray. Backing up Calais Campbell, you have Jawaan Taylor. You know, you needed this third pass rusher that you can really count on, and a real building block. So that's really good. You're going to have a really good cornerstone right tackle in JaJuan Taylor to be able to be the opposite offensive tackle to Cam Robinson. So that makes me feel a lot more comfortable about the offensive line. 3rd round were more head-scratching picks with a couple small school guys with Josh Oliver and Quincy Williams. And then, you know, obviously you got Ryquell Armstead, Gardner Minshew, and then Dontavius Russell. So overall, man, I'm going to give this draft an A-. You know, we'll revisit this, obviously, in a couple years and see really how this draft class does. Hopefully it turns into like a 2014 draft class or a 2016 draft class, as opposed to a 2013 or 2015 draft class. So thank you so much, guys, for watching my video. You know, this is going on 24 minutes, so pretty long video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this draft class, and give me your grades. You know, what's your overall grade for this draft class? Now, be sure, guys, to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.